The massive and the monstrous, no longer the best. The challenge, the thrill, has been put to rest. The grind and the kill, no longer at our behest. Never has their memory been paler. Never will we again meet a... Hello then, ladies and gentlemen, fellow hunters all. Rise Sunbreak title update. I have one question, Capcom. Where are the siege monsters? Now, before we get into this, I know that the siege monsters have very much a, well, Marmite disposition. You either love them or you hate them. There's very little middle ground. You appreciate their ginormousness, the spectacle, the epic moment that you first saw them, but then you lambast the slow, repetitive dullness of walking next to something's ankles while it ignores you and slashing endlessly for half an hour. Thrilling. You sit there in awe as a sapphire of the Emperor drops down, and then you sit there in awe as the wrong weapon drops for you. This is the siege monster, both blessing and curse. They etch a memory unlike any other, and then also, a lot of the time, etch a memory that you'd rather, well, forget. But that does not mean they do not have a worthy place in Monster Hunter. That does not mean that they are not some of the best designed encounters and creatures we have ever had. Kulve Taroth weapon RNG might have had its, let's say, ups and downs, but Kulve Taroth herself, the caverns of El Dorado, the whole experience, I mean, can any of us say that that was not just awesome? The same with Safi, the same with Lao Shenlong, the same with Shen Garen, the same with Jen Moran, on a sand ship through the desert, a sand whale, oh, glorious! And while repeated encounters lose that luster, I don't think anything quite shines for the first time like a siege monster. But all of that aside, kinda takes us to the point of today, which is, where are the siege monsters in Rise and Sunbreak? Now, obviously, every Monster Hunter game doesn't need to have one, but it is definitely curious to me that the game that I would argue is most suited for a siege monster doesn't have them. Now, both Kulve Taroth and Safi'jiiva were title updates. So is the title update the place to look? We have our silhouettes, we have our teasers, we have no idea what that will turn into, but there is every chance we do get some sort of system like that. That would be really cool. But is that chance high? I'm not so sure. But think about it with Rise and Sunbreak, right? Wirebugs and climbing. Is there two bigger words that I can say that would make any given siege monster feel awesome? Wirebugs and climbing. Like, even just Zora Magdaros, poor old Zora Magdaros, would have been so much more engaging with complete free climbing and wirebugs. Yeah, you could move around his shell fairly well, but actually jumping and darting around it, that would be so much better. And the fact that you could just, instead of having to, you know, press button, wing Drake to Zora, you could just freely wirebug back and forth between the barrier and Zora itself, which will give a much better flow to the whole experience. But the idea that we could have giant monster we need to take down, we need to dismantle, and that we could freely climb it, dart around it, zip through the air around it. Like even Safi'jiiva as a concept, the arena he's in, he keeps going to a lower level and a lower level, you could just wirebug after him and drop down instead of doing the kind of wing Drake transition. Then again, even with Guys Were Gone, we did have the kind of fade in, fade out transition in Sunbreak itself, so perhaps that is a little bit unrealistic to say the least. But in any case, I think it's hard not to say that a big monster in your face that normally can pose quite a challenge to satisfyingly fight because it's so big that it just doesn't feel personal enough, I think by far and away the best system to remedy that is the more fast-paced, high-movement wirebug system that we have in Rise and Sunbreak. And I think it would be a shame to go the entirety of these game cycles without something like a siege monster. Even something as basic as Lao Shanglung being able to just wirebug up onto his back and then start slashing it, as opposed to having to slowly climb up the pillar and hop onto it with a weirdly, awkwardly timed jump. I'm on there! I'm on there! Come on, place
You're
the
on
bomb!
top! I'm underneath!
Place the bomb!
This is
1,
teamwork!
come on! 2, place the other bomb! Place it! Yeah! Now get off!
No, run!
Get off! Come on! Oh!
Take it!
Oh! Would be really cool. It's just a subtle improvement like that. It really is. And I guess it doesn't necessarily need to be a full siege, but at the same time, just a massive monster. Even Atalkar and her mech with Wirebug is the popular example, because again, just being able to Wirebug onto it instead of climbing the specific climbing points would be a really cool way to improve that fight. Not that it needs improving, because it is an absolute masterpiece, and I love Atalkar, but at the same time, it just adds that slight little bit of extra flow that I think would really make a giant monster fight pop. Basically, the bottom line here is, as time goes on, it does look less and less likely that we will get either a siege fight or a giant monster fight in Rise and Sunbreak, and I just think that's a little bit of a shame when I think Rise and Sunbreak have the capacity to give us the best siege or giant monster fight we have quite literally ever had in Monster Hunter. Even looking at Kulve Taroth, right, in the caverns of El Dorado, getting around that place with wirebugs would have been so good compared to how it was in World and Iceborne's movement. Just being able to follow her around the map in Phase 1 for the tracks and getting the research level up, actually zipping around the place, would have just really sped that up and made it feel that much nicer, and that's the kind of thing that I want to see. The question is then, though, a returning one or a new one? That is something to consider. And I feel like ultimately new makes the most sense. It would be kind of random to bring Kulve or Safi back, or even going older than that. There was definitely stirrings of perhaps we're going to get another gen-based experience. Rondine does have the Great Desert as a picture at her trading post in Kimura, which was why that was a possibility, but again, that looks like it's not perhaps happening. But the idea of, oh my god, something massive is attacking the kingdom, oh my god, we're going to finally go to a section of the kingdom, a map called the Battlefield, for example, and it is a giant monster rappel. Kind of the aesthetic of the Shengaren or Lao Shanglung in Monster Hunter Online that this kind of evokes. Like, imagine this kind of situation, wirebugging across a battlefield, darting round and under and on top of a giant apocalyptic behemoth as we desperately fight for survival. That would be so cool. It really would. And climbing up and down castle walls, and I'm reaching, pure fantasy land here, but damn, is it something that I would love. So yeah, basically, I really want to siege our giant monster fight in Rise and Sunbreak with wirebugs, please. Lament with me, everybody. Lament with me. And also, let me know what you think. Which one would you like, or a new one? Or am I off base here and you're like, I could take it or leave it when it comes to them, it's okay. And that all said, though, the collection of monsters in Sunbreak is absolutely fantastic, and the update roadmap is looking beyond juicy, so really this is just asking for the cherry on top of an otherwise magnificent cake, and well, maybe I shouldn't be greedy. Fun food for thought in any case. Like if you enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more. Consider supporting the future of this channel on Patreon down below, and until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.